So the 2026 T20 World Cup is 2 years away. What 5 takeaways do we take from the 2024 edition? I'm going to start with one, and this is a point I remember you making to me a few years ago. Is it right that India and Pakistan are always scheduled to play against each other? And is that one thing that we should change for 2026?
That's one thing we should change for all major ICC events. I understand it from a financial point of view. We all get it. It makes a lot of money, that game, right? The independence of the fixtures is the most important thing in sports. And we fix the fixtures, which is a form of corruption, every single time to make sure that one game keeps happening again and again and again. Can we not just grow up as a sport, right? And just allow for the fact that sometimes India and Pakistan might not play each other. And the broadcasters are just going to have to take that chance. If they like cricket, they're going to have to take that chance if they want to invest in it. There is no reason for the fixture to have that game every single time. And it's so stupid as well. There's the whole idea that they don't play each other anymore outside of that game. So it becomes even more important. Sorry, a real sport would just grow up and just go, sometimes you'll play each other and sometimes you won't.
Bumble, do you think it sacrifices?
Not in the slightest. He's just mentioned the independence of the fixtures. We talk long and hard about fixing in cricket. That's fixed. It's just fixed for a major event. I think that the romance of anything like this, if they do get drawn together, not that they are, that's it. If they do, there's a romance to it. There's something for spectators to look forward to if it happens. And then it becomes an event. You know, the game itself is an event. You can't fix it. And that's only part of what we fix. We fix loads of stuff in this particular World Cup to try to make things and manipulate. It's just wrong.
Well, one of the things is the fact that India and Australia are playing last in their Super 8 group, which seems very, very handy for both teams. I mean, it may be that by the time this video goes out, one or both of them have been knocked out. But essentially, if we're going to say in 2 years' time, 5 things that need to change. Firstly, need to get rid of predetermining the fact that India and Pakistan are going to play against each other. That has got to be taken out of the equation. Another thing surely should be, if you have this group stage followed by a Super 8 stage, you can't predetermine what games are taking place in the Super 8 stage before the group stage is finished. Australia finished top of their group. That surely should be of benefit to them. Hang on, it's not. They're having to play India, who are the top of their group. That makes no sense at all.
Well, I think you've got, how many groups do we have? 4. So you have to play another team that's at the top of your group.
Of course.
But are they not are they not like highly ranked teams? And it feels like the other group is the easier group because you have a couple of teams that aren't doing as well. So there's no seeding, right? It's just that we want Australia and India to play each other. And so we're going to make sure that game happens again.
And it's set at the end. So essentially, they're looking at it thinking, well, the chances are Australia and India are going to win their first 2 games of the Super 8s. And then when they play against each other, they're probably both through.
Yeah, nothing ever feels right about any of these tournaments.
No,
like you look at the scheduling and you're just like, it doesn't make sense. And there's not a lot of transparency. And then we know they openly manipulate it to get India, Pakistan to play each other, and usually to get Australia and England to play each other as well. Not every single time, but Australia and England do seem to play each other in group stages quite a bit as well, don't they? And you look at it and you go, well, that's not a tournament. That's like a
it's a fix.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like a rock concert more than it is a proper tournament. And so you end up with all these anomalies all the way through of, this team wants to play in the Caribbean because their fans want to go to the Caribbean. That's not how a World Cup works, right?
So we're trying to take cricket to America. Can you imagine them sitting down and going, okay, guys, so this sport of cricket, let's have a look at the semi-finals, shall we? Oh, you've got completely different rules for the semi-final 1 and semi-final 2, and you've already decided that India are going to play in semi-final 2 because it's better for TV back in India. That's not a normal sport.
Also, if let's say it was football or basketball, one of the other, or rugby, one of the major sports. If we said, okay, Germany's going to play in this location, right? Because it's a bigger stadium and they're going to bring more fans. You'd be like, fine. But cricket is a sport that is dictated by the pitch, right? And India had extra spinners in part because they knew they were going to have to go through Guyana, right? They knew they were going to have to go through that pitch to get through to the final. Why tell them beforehand? It's such a baffling thing of like, how can this be? And we understand some of it, right? Like, you know, when they have the swimming, you know, that no matter what, in the Olympics, the Commonwealth, well, not the Commonwealth Games, but the Olympics or the World Championships, the finals are always primetime America, right? Because that's the biggest swimming audience, right? And all the Australians moan because it's not their time, but that's how these things work. But India has day games all the way through. And then you've got these other, you know, stupid things like South Africa playing all their games in one location, and Sri Lanka, who have been, I think they've been to more cricket grounds that are actually playing World Cup events at this stage. I think at one stage they went to the wrong ground in Trinidad. They were so confused, Sri Lanka. They had so many different things. It's literally like they play on a game and then they're on a flight, right? How is that fair to those two teams?
But it just isn't fair. We can go round and round and talk about this forever. We're just manipulating the tournament for the benefit of a few. If you look at the TV audience in India, they would watch anything in India. They would watch it at any time. It is the religion. It is the be-all and end-all. They would watch it. And so it must be some commercial value that overrides the competition itself. And who devises it all? Don't tell me the ICC. Who? The ICC is a big corporate event. Who does it? Who comes up with the ideas?
Well, it's an operating group, isn't it, who do it almost separate to the ICC. So they get in a couple of years before and they make all these decisions. And let's be honest, they've had a bit of a shock at this moment.
Yeah, so they must be told, this operating group must be told, but whilst you're doing it, this must happen, that must happen.
It has to be.
And so it's perhaps been a little bit unfair to them, rather than give them a blank sheet of paper and write. Tell us what the system is. Tell us what the competition is.
Come up with the best World Cup you can.
The best. There you go. It needs to be, for these 5 points, the best World Cup that we can put together for the supporter. You've got to make it simple. If you want to play in America, go and play the whole thing in America. West Indies, America, spectators, country, visas, passports, hotels. They're not making it easy.
So we've come up with India and Pakistan should not play automatically. Semi-finals should have the same rules, i.e. you can't have one semi-final which has got a reserve date.
It's not difficult.
And then the second semi-final doesn't have a reserve date. You cannot predetermine what team makes the Super 8s and also the semi-finals. You cannot have a situation where one team gets to sit back and stroll to the ground, which it plays at 3 times in a row, while another one has to fly, travel, or fly, play, and is staying essentially an hour and a half away. But there's one other one. And this one, I think, is the most unbelievably amateurish situation you could find yourself in. And that is, through no fault of the players and for all of the criticism and the ire directed at Josh Hazlewood, when he was asked whether he would essentially go easy on Scotland, so it would knock England out, of all the criticism that was pointed in his direction, where was the criticism that should have been rightly pointed at the ICC for allowing a situation where 2 teams can go up against each other with both knowing what they need to do to knock another one out?
To manipulate. It's a fix again.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Josh Hazlewood. We've dealt with players throughout my life, and players don't know the laws or the regulations of the game. And he's asked a question and the young fella's given an answer. I have no problem with that at all. The big problem is the event that you've just described. Hang on, so we can actually do this in order to get rid of them.
Make it easier for us to win a World Cup.
Yeah. It will still go through.
Yeah.
We'll knock that team out, the holders, and we just have to win a little bit less heavily than we're going to anyway.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I've been talking about and writing about for like over a decade, and nothing ever happens. And we've seen it happen. We have seen it's on YouTube if you want to find it, the Steve Michael Bevan partnership, where they bat. I think they get to 91 and then it takes another 15 overs for them to get the next 15 or 16 runs, right? Phil Simmons bowling his little wobblers and then treating them like they're hand grenades coming down and everything like that. We've seen it happen. We've seen teams talk about it before. We've seen moments where it could have been an issue. We still don't play the games all at the same time on the last day. It's that simple, right? You cannot manipulate if you're not sure what's happening at the other ground.
Has the question been put to the ICC, what do you think about that situation? What do you think?
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. You've devised this. What do you think?
Shall we do? Well, we can. Shall we? After this, we'll send them. We'll ask them.
Tell us what you think. I mean, it's a very polite question.
Yeah.
You know, this was quite embarrassing for the sport. What do you think? You devised it.
Yeah.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.